I'm wondering if you're still here at 7 o'clock tonight, because in New Zealand anyway, because it's been a big day. This is my third live today because I've been on other people's panels, but it's been exciting. It's really an interesting time right now. So if you're listening and if you've joined in, just write in the chat so we know you're here. That would be lovely. Press the love button if you love what we're saying and what we're talking about. That would be great, so we know that you're there as well. But I want to introduce my one of my newest friends, actually, Jackie Handy from the UK. Now, I know that I am extremely privileged because I get to travel all around the world in my job. And people ask me all the time, what's your favorite country? I've been to 21 of them now. I've worked in 21. And people say, what is your favorite country? And I say, I don't know that I've got a favorite. Although I do love being in Paris, and I loved New York. But what I really love and what I tell people is the most exciting part of my travel is the people. I love meeting the people. And not necessarily just from the people from that country, but the people who I meet while I'm there as well. And this is one of those stories. So I'm going to Namibia in just recently, can't even tell you when it was, in February. And I get on a plane. Look, there are 14 people on the plane. It's a huge plane, 14 people on it. And this woman sits next to me, and it turns out to be Jackie Handy. We are both going to the same conference. And how does that work? How does that work that suddenly this universe throws us together? And so I'm so pleased that Jackie can join us. She has just woken up. Well, not literally, but she is in the UK. So hi, Jackie.
Hi, Karen. Wow. I mean, it was serendipity at its finest, wasn't it? You know, the universe truly works in mysterious ways, and it's a real pleasure to be here. Yeah, it's 8 a.m. here in the UK, or is it 7 a.m.? I can't remember. I don't even know what day it is anymore. But it's great to be joining you, and great to see some people have said hi already. So, yeah, thanks for making me welcome.
Wonderful. All right, you tell us where you're from, because Karen has just said she's from Ireland, so Tauranga.
Yeah, I see that.
So I wonder if there's any of your UK friends who are going to join us. So let us know where you're from in the chat so that we get a bit of a sense that, we're going global. So that
Absolutely.
would be wonderful. Yeah, and if if you're not watching this live, if you're watching the replay, still write in the comments, because we'll be able to see them and read them. So that'll be great. So Jackie, please tell us about your journey. We're going to talk today about mindset and why that matters. But tell us about the journey that led you to understanding mindset and language, please.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's a long story, so I won't take up the whole kind of time with the journey. But what I will say is I spent 20 years in corporate, and I was mainly in sales and leadership. I was a manager of a team in a recruitment agency. And so there's anybody that's watching this that's ever been in a sales environment or knows anybody that has been, will know that there's a lot of pressure. But as a manager, a leader, I suppose like teachers, you are the one that is there to motivate and inspire your people and to empower them, really. And so I was a terrible manager to begin with, if I'm honest, but I became a very good manager, and I took on board a lot of training and coaching that I received, and basically what happened just as we were thriving, we had the crash of 2007, 2008, and that changed the dynamic in the team, and I call myself really the accidental coach, because I realized that in order to keep my team motivated and inspired at a time which was traditionally not feeling very positive in the economic marketplace, I needed to shift my perspective. And so being able to do that, I don't really know how that happened, but I was able to change my perspective and keep them inspired and motivated. And that actually somehow created this inner passion within me to say, actually, I really want to help more people develop and help more people grow. And so long story short, Karen, but this created a real shift in me and what I wanted for myself and my own career. And it became more of a vocation. And I'm sure many of your viewers can appreciate that term, where I wanted to move into much more of a giving back kind of role without sounding too cheesy about it. So I moved into a learning and development role. I stayed with the same organization I was with, but I moved into learning and development, and I thrived within that environment. And within or as part of that journey, it created a catalyst really in me to go back as I think a 37-8-year-old woman at the time, to go back into a learning environment. And language I was fascinated with. I was fascinated by why we do what we do, and I was fascinated by the influence and impact of language on self and of those around us. And Karen, you know my backstory and the fact that, briefly for the benefit of your viewers, I received bullying as I was growing up for my differences, at various stages of my childhood. And so I know more than some, perhaps, the impact, both negatively and positively, of language. And so I found this world quite by accident of neuro-linguistic programming, which sometimes when I tell people that, they go, "Oh, are you going to hypnotize me?" But there's actually so many different facets to NLP, and for those that haven't heard the term, it simply means the way in which our brains respond to the conscious use of language, and how we can almost reprogram ourselves to think and feel differently on the back of the words that we are using, either within our own self-talk or externally with those around us. And so I trained in that field, and I became a master practitioner and certified trainer of NLP. And although I don't necessarily specialize now in teaching NLP, I have this kind of golden thread of language throughout everything I do. And I'm continually fascinated by human behavior and the power of our language. So that's it kind of in a nutshell.
Thank you. So I didn't do a very good job actually of introducing you to say that you are a human behavior specialist. You love this whole mindset and language, but you also do a lot of work with diversity and inclusion. And so Jackie was a keynote speaker at the conference I was going to in Namibia, and she spoke with such heart and such feeling and such vulnerability, actually, that it was inspiring to hear and to watch her craft on the stage. So, Jackie, you're welcome. We are in interesting times, and this COVID-19. It's a fascinating time to be alive. I've noticed some teenagers talking recently that they're quite excited because one day their children will be studying this, and they'll go, "I was there," and so all their grandchildren, they'll be going, "I was there. I know what it was like." But it's that whole idea of, it is a fascinating time for us and for our teachers and, just general public, this whole language that we use. So why is it important that we are aware of our language? Why does language really matter?
Yeah, I mean, as I've kind of mentioned in that story, and thank you for such lovely comments about the talk. I really believe that, and your viewers will know this, that we have so much self-talk. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, my self-talk is not shutting up right now. And I'm sure that's the case for many. We find ourselves saying to ourselves, perhaps, what if, what about this, this could happen and this could happen. And we also find at this time that we're often saying things like, well, I should be doing more of this, and I need to do that, and I must stay positive, and I ought to be doing more whilst I'm in isolation. And this kind of language it creates a whole lot of pressure. It creates a lot of pressure on us. And, I fall foul of this just like anybody else. right? Just because I know about this stuff doesn't mean that I don't sometimes fall foul of it. And I think when we're in such times as these uncharted territory, yes, some people could say, oh, it's a bit like when this happened, or it's a bit like when that happened, but actually it's nothing like anything really that we've seen before, is it? And on such a scale, and I think that we have to be able to. Here I go again. There's that forceful language. We have to be. We don't have to do anything, right? Apart from stay home. I would suggest that it is a sensible choice right now to give ourselves permission to just be, to listen and notice what we notice within our bodies, within our self-talk, and within our external language, because that will drive our own behavior, it will drive our own state, and it will influence those around us if we are fortunate or unfortunate to be surrounded by lots of people right now. And especially, for the people in your network, I know many are teachers or parents, and, children, we learn. Your viewers will know this. We learn by observing and listening to the things that we hear and see every single day. And right now, they are learning the behaviors and coping mechanisms from what they see in us. So language is hugely important in relation to that. There's all these wonderful, positive, inspiring quotes, aren't there, about, fit your own mask first, and you can't drink the cup, pour from an empty cup, and all those kind of things. And, sometimes you just want to go, like, enough already of the positive quotes. But I do think it's important to at least be kind to ourselves and be kind with our own self-talk in the first instance, because despite the fact that we like to brand ourselves super women or super people, we're all human. And I think it's time to have this acknowledgement. And yes, words matter, so we should choose those carefully, especially for those around us. But also it's a time to be a little bit selfish and think about what we need right now. Like you, I don't have all the answers to this situation, but I do know that we will get through it. This too will pass, as they say, and to coin another positive quote. And I think if we keep that in mind and just focus on, okay, what can I do right now for myself, perhaps for my business, and perhaps for my family or my network, I think it's important. Maybe you're like this too, Karen. You do lots of these lives, and it's wonderful, wonderful work that you do. And, I call myself a fixer, right? I told you already, I like to help people develop and grow. And I find myself at this kind of random, it's not even a crossroads, it's a junction where I'm like, I can't fix all of this. So I can't be all things to all people. So I'm just trying to be something to someone. And if I can do that, and keep that in mind, then that helps me cope. And I think it will help your viewers cope too.
Absolutely. I think that's about staying in the present too, isn't it?
It is.
And so you use that wonderful phrase, notice what you notice. And I had on my live 2 days ago, Dr. Jodie Richardson from Australia, and she was talking about anxiety. And she had a lovely quote that stayed with me, positive quote. But she said, all feelings are okay, but not all behavior is okay. And
yeah,
I loved that. And I think that's, that notice what you notice, notice your feelings, notice how you are. And it's okay not to be okay right now. It's okay to say no to people and say, I can't do that meeting. I know I have been meeting after meeting after meeting, and I almost feel like, I don't know if have you ever been on a cruise, Jackie?
I have.
Yeah. So do you remember, and our viewers, tell us if you've been on a cruise. When you go on a cruise, the night before, just before you go into bed, they put a piece of paper under your door. And on that piece of paper are all the activities you can do the next day. And so, when you're the
It's
first
like,
time
oh,
it's like, oh, look, we can go to bingo, and look, we can go to ballroom dancing lessons, and look, we can go to a quiz night because my husband loves quizzes, and oh look, there's the show at 7:00, and when are we going to fit lunch in? And you're exhausted.
yeah.
And I sort of feel a bit like that at the moment because everyone's offering things online. There's free seminars. And I sort of feel like and so I'm at that point after 3 weeks of this that I'm actually starting to say, no, I don't want to do anything. And I'm really looking forward to this Easter weekend where I just go, no, I've got a jigsaw puzzle and a book and a bikini if it's nice weather.
And chocolate, I noticed on your post.
And chocolate, yes, I've been very spoiled.
Very
I sent chocolate, so the Easter bunnies come early. So sometimes we just got to slow down, but notice what you notice and be okay with those feelings. So I love that phrase of yours.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I think we can use this in so many different ways. So notice what you notice in your mind and body in terms of, where are and I'm not talking about illness. I'm talking about those symptoms and signs that we're noticing that are indicating fatigue, that are indicating overwhelm, that are indicating fear and anxiety, because the more honed we become with that whole mind-body connection without getting too like woo-woo about it, but we all know that there's a mind-body connection, and I think it's teaching ourselves, if you like, through going deep, is to basically be able to catch ourselves, like like Dr. Jody, I think it was, that said, if I have that right, this whole feelings are okay, but all behaviors are not okay. And I think that if it's about noticing what we notice within us and around us, that then can encourage us to take a moment, take a step back before we act and react and behave, so that we choose that external representation of what we've been feeling internally with more care and concern. And I want to get this term in that I've been talking to people in my network about recently, and that is being in the same boat. And, talking of cruises, but, lots of people are saying right now, and by the way, I love the fact that the world is in many ways coming together through this. There's this kind of common theme, of course, that's running through the world. It's not a pleasant one, but it's common, and we can all relate to that. But when people say, we're all in the same boat, it's okay, we're all in the same boat. For me, I really beg to differ. We are not in the same boat. The situation that we're surrounded by may be the same, but our experience, both inwardly and externally, is very, very different. And, some people's boats are sinking right now, and some people's boats have great big holes in them right now, and other people's boats have got new sails and new motors, and they're really cruising right now. And neither is better nor worse. But I think that this is where we if you like could choose to be more mindful of the way in which we're using generalizations at the moment, because sometimes generalizations can be great. Everyone's going to love this live, of course. I could use that everyone as a generalization in a very positive term. But if I'm going to suggest that everyone's in the same boat, then is that a wacko that I just saw on this comment?
So that's the Maori word, the te reo word for boat.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you for educating me, Erin. Thank you. But yeah, we must be really truly mindful of suggesting that every single person around us is in that same boat, and take perhaps a little extra time to understand. Stephen Covey, he said, seek first to understand before seeking to be understood, and I think that back then and still now is very, very useful advice. So be truly mindful of, those generalizations that we're putting out there that may not only isolate, but also potentially increase the anxiety and the fear in those around us about the situation.
Absolutely. Thank you. I have a gratitude page which started 2 years ago by accident. And so there's about 600 of us who post our daily gratitude on it. And then, so I don't administer the page anymore. It's a lot of work, but we have someone each month, a member who administers the page. And one of the discussions just yesterday was about what are we discovering about ourselves in this time? What are we discovering? And one of the big things was about our basic needs. And what do we really need? What is it that's really important to us right now? And I think for many, that we're starting to discover, actually, we don't need to be go shopping every day. We don't need to be busy all the time, or whatever it is. And so, do you want to comment on that? The whole idea of basic needs.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, some of your viewers will have heard about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Abraham Maslow's hierarchy. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it's basically a series of levels that indicate our motivational needs, drivers, those things that would fulfill us, and the layers of that. And at the very top of that hierarchy, we have something known as self-actualization. And that really means that I'm completely fulfilled. I have my ego is boosted in a good way. I have my social circles and my intimacy or my networks. I feel safe and secure in my home and in my environment, etc. And I have enough food and water and so on. And the base level of that, I said food and water, that is the base level. It's known as our physiological needs. And I think now more than ever, this has been a shift which kind of confuses us, because so many people right now have been in this situation where maybe they've been high up on that hierarchy. So they felt very self-fulfilled, motivated, driven, self-actualized. And all of a sudden, almost overnight, I mean, it happened like that here, and I'm sure where you are and your viewers around the world, our needs suddenly went from, okay, this doesn't matter anymore. Now I need to think about staying alive. And, the baseline physiological needs of, do I have food? Is the air that I'm breathing safe? And hey, I need to be home with those people that really matter, or at least keeping those around me as safe as I possibly can in this kind of out of control place that we find ourselves. So I think that there will be, I mean, let's be realistic about this. It's probably going to get a little worse before it gets better, this current situation. And often these things do happen in life where we have to suffer something great in order to appreciate something small. And
we just lost her. That's never happened before. Oh no, I hope that she can come back in a moment, jump back on and join us again. So here she comes. Where did you go? So here she comes again. I think those basic needs are what we're all discovering, actually, that there's so much that we realise that we've maybe taken for granted even. I don't know if this is true in the UK, and I can't see Jackie yet. I can see that she's back on, but I can't see her videos on, and I can't hear you either, Jackie. So, but I can see you're there. This whole idea of toilet paper, for us, it started in Australia, and some of those basic needs people panicked about, and we had to. So I got my groceries delivered today, and even that has been a challenge for many of us. Me in total isolation by myself, I have no way of getting to a supermarket, so I'm relying on others to get them to me. And I've got a wonderful friend who's been doing that for me. But I got toilet paper today, so that was exciting. But let's just see if we've got Jackie back here. Yeah. Are you there, Jackie? Oh, no. So, okay. She'll be trying to work out something at her end. But, well, I wanted to let you know, Ricky's just saying in the chat, it's flour now. Absolutely. It's like in the war days, isn't it, when you couldn't get flour. And Kiri's saying the toilet paper panic. But actually, while we're still hoping that Jackie can jump back on, maybe in the chat you could write down what are some of your strategies that you have right now to manage your mindset? Because I think we need to be mindful of that language we're using. Instead of calling this a crisis, maybe we can call it a interesting times. Instead of saying, this is going to be difficult, maybe we use the word challenging. What are some of the other, what we call reframes? When you reframe, and you don't have to do this all the time, but you hear Jackie talking about, instead of using the word should and I need to, I might do this, or I could do this, instead of should. So Ellie's saying using the word retreat instead of like in home detention, lockdown. So not lockdown, but we say, hey, we're going on a retreat. Well, I think the word lockdown was important for a while to make sure people understood it was important. It says we're not actually on a holiday. We're actually doing this to help others. So absolutely. Yeah. So, well, it looks like Jackie's there, but I can see her there, but we actually don't have her. Let me just try one more time and see. We've just got a purple screen with no Jackie. What a shame. Well, maybe we'll have to finish off the video later. We'll be able to grab hold of her. And so, yeah. And Erin's just saying here in the chat, being very mindful of the balance between the work that we have and shifting into those other spaces. Yes. And I know that Kerry calls it Operation Stay at Home. So there's a nice reframe, isn't it? Looking at, and not like I'm in lockdown, but helping. Opportunities, Ricky's saying, different way to move forward. Actually, that's a good segue for me, because next week on Thursday, I have another guest who has agreed to come on. And what we're going to be talking about then is really looking at many people are discovering their new normal, exercising more than they've ever done, having wonderful meals in their home, connecting more with their loved ones, all of these beautiful things that are happening. And we're noticing that there is lots of wonderful environmental things that are happening, that the water's clearer, that the air's clearer, that the pollution's gone. And so lots of amazing things happening around in our world. So Rowena Caesar and McElvoy is going to come and talk on, Jackie's trying to come back in. There we go. See if we can get you now, Jackie. She's going to be talking about how do we reinvent ourselves? How do we really look at what's important, and how do we maintain some of these learnings that we've had when we go back into the world, I guess. So, it's going to be interesting. And on Tuesday, for the teachers watching, I'm going to stream with a gentleman from Australia, Julian Mather, and he's going to be talking about videoing and how do you use videos from your phone, just making really professional videos. If you're doing one-on-ones or sending videos to your children, he's got some wonderful tiny little tips that will make a huge difference to make sure that your videos are looking world class. Because when you are sending a video to your children, particularly if you're working with older children, they're going to go, oh, look, they're not looking at the camera, or I can see up their nose, or I can see things in the background, and even just little ways to position your camera. So he's going to be talking about some cool little strategies. I know I learned heaps when I listened to him talk a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really sad that we've lost Jackie, but I want to thank you all for coming on and commenting. And if you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, please make sure you type in where you're from, what you've got out of this, and what you're going to do to reframe your ideas. So, and your mindset. So that's what we're really talking about today. So thank you so much. And I'm going to sign off and call Jackie on the traditional telephone. And here she's on the chat now. She just says she's completely lost connection. Jackie, she obviously can see us, so we will connect with you again and maybe do another video for you. So, okay, everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and it's bye from me.